Hello everyone and welcome back to the Way podcast where we learn in English poco a poco or podcast by podcast. Today we have 17 fun facts about England. Actually, while I was researching and trying to find more interesting information about England itself, not the UK, so not Ireland, not Scotland, not Wales, just England, I found a lot of information that was specifically for London. So I might do a fun facts episode about London, maybe even New York, for example, just to give it more specific information. So there is some information about London, but not everything. I tried to keep it quite general for the country. Right, okay everyone, let's get into it.
Bienvenido al podcast de The Way. Si quieres aprender inglés y hablar con confianza, estás en el sitio correcto. Hemos ayudado a miles de personas como tú a mejorar su inglés y alcanzar sus objetivos. Visita nuestra web theway.es para conocer más sobre nuestros cursos online desde A2 hasta C1 y descubre cómo podemos ayudarte a avanzar en tu aprendizaje. Además, si necesitas una certificación oficial, también ofrecemos la opción de realizar el examen Language Pair cómodamente desde casa.
Number 1 is Londinium. Londinium was the original London. When the Romans arrived almost 2,000 years ago, they founded a small settlement called Londinium. So let's just take a pause here, right? Not found as in find, found, encontrar. This found is the verb para establecer una cosa. You establish a country, well, not a country, you establish a city, you establish a country, a business, a company, right? So that's why we say foundation or the founder, like the person who originally made it. So this is found, the verb found in English, in present simple, right? So let me repeat that. When the Romans arrived almost 2,000 years ago, they founded a small settlement called Londinium. Over time, it grew and became one of the most important cities in Europe for hundreds of years. And just remember that next time you are going to London, you can very, very sneakily, as in like you can see little bits and pieces of the old original Londinium. But maybe you should go on a walking tour for that. Okay, let's do number 2. England is the center of world time. So you know wherever you are in the world that there are time zones. For example, I don't know exactly, but let's say that China is 8 hours ahead of Spain, for example, right? Or that Spain is ahead 8 hours from Hawaii, for example. I don't know the actual time differences, but the zero, right? Where we are in the world where it's considered like the zero is called Greenwich Mean Time, and Greenwich is a place in England. So basically, England is the point where the world's time begins, because from England we go plus hours or minus hours in the time zone. That's pretty cool in my opinion. Number 3, now guys, England and the UK is like every other country in the world that has a lot of festivals. But for me, the most interesting one as a foreigner, right? Remember, I'm not English. I speak English, but I'm not English. And for me, the craziest festival happens in Gloucester, called the Cheese Rolling Festival. Now, they go to the top of a hill, very steep. Steep is like super inclinado. A very steep hill, and they have a big round wheel, una rueda of cheese, and they go and they watch the cheese go to the bottom of the hill, and some people like try to catch the cheese, which is crazy. It's very dangerous to run downhill very quickly, but it's very popular. And if you are going to England, maybe that's something that you can try get into your schedule if you go at the right time of year. Right. Number 4. I didn't know this, and this is completely fascinating for me because it just shows how interconnected our history is, right? Number 4 is, did you know that French at one point was the official language of England? Let me repeat that. French was the official language of England. Okay, so after the Norman invasion in 1066, the French obviously won the invasion, right? They defended and they won the war. And French became the official language of England for 300 years. 300 years. Guys, that's crazy. You know, kings, the courts, the rich, everybody would speak French, and only the common people, like los pobres, the common people, would speak English. And that's crazy. But often when I'm teaching, it actually happened yesterday. I was doing the register of who was present, and I said, whoever, let's say, por ejemplo, Claudia, and I said absent, Enzo, absent. And they were like, Aurelia, absent is French. And I was like, guys, I don't know. I don't speak French. I don't know. So there are lots of adapted words that come into English that are actually from French, like cafe, restaurant, menu, beauty. All of these words apparently come from French, and I didn't know that. Okay, number 5 I think is cool. Did you know that England once fought a war that only lasted 38 minutes? 38 minutes. My naps, my siestas are longer than 38 minutes. In 1896, it was a war against the island of Zanzibar. But Zanzibar surrendered very quickly, and that was the end of the war. We actually have an expression which is very nice that you could use in this scenario. Short but sweet. When something is like the perfect time. Short but sweet. Okay. Number 6 is actually common knowledge, as in lots of people know this. But did you know that when you go to London and you talk about the Big Ben, you're not talking about the clock? Big Ben is the bell. Guys, I can never remember the difference. Campana or campana? I think it's campana. It is the bell, campana, that's inside the tower, not the clock itself. The tower is called the Elizabeth Tower. So when you say people, hey, look at Big Ben, you are talking about the bell that's inside the tower. Number 7 is also very interesting if you enjoy football. Now, something that I think many people know is the different football teams in England. We have Manchester City, Liverpool, Man United. I can't think of anything more. But there are a lot, and people are very patriotic about their football teams. But did you know that there are 2 football teams in most cities? So let's look at the example Manchester City and Manchester United. The reason that there are 2 football teams apparently is that it comes to religion, is that there was one for the Catholics and one for the Protestants. And for me, that's crazy that a whole football team was developed for opposite sides of the city. Very interesting. Number 8 is the London Underground. Now, the Underground is the English word for metro, right? The London Underground is the oldest metro in the world. It opened in 1863. People also call it the Tube, as in I can say tuba, right? The tube. So it is the first underground railway in the world, and parts of it are still used today. There are many parts of the underground that are closed. There are whole stations that are closed off and nobody's allowed to enter, but the majority of it is still used today, and millions of people use the underground as a main form of transport. Okay, are you ready for number 9? Number 9 is Stonehenge. Now, Stonehenge in itself is one of England's most iconic landmarks, right? Which is kind of weird because it's just stones in El Campo, like it's stones in the middle of nowhere, right? But there's something very beautiful about it. It's apparently over 4,000 years old, and no one really knows why it's built. You know, people say many things. Some people say it was a temple. Some people say it's connected to the sun for the solstice or the equinox. Some people say that it's connected to an ancient calendar that nobody knows about. But the fact that it still exists is quite fascinating, and it gets many visitors and tourists every year. There's actually a festival. I don't know when it happens, but there is also a festival that happens at Stonehenge to sort of celebrate the magic and mystery of the landmark. Number 10 is Oxford University. Now, I have been to Oxford University. Guys, it is beautiful. And if I'm not mistaken, parts of the Harry Potter films were filmed in Oxford because it has that big iconic staircase and sort of like school sort of movie vibe. But did you know it's one of the oldest universities in the world? Oxford University is almost nearly 1,000 years old, and it is still running, like it still functions today. And it has educated, obviously, some of the world's greatest minds, from scientists and writers, and even prime ministers. Okay, let's look at number 11, which I think personally is a little bit more interesting, and that is Hadrian's Wall. Now, if you go to England, there are parts of England where there is this like little mini, I don't know how to say it in Spanish, muro, a wall, right? And it is to show the edge. The edge is like, I don't know how to say edge in Spanish actually. The edge is like the end of, right? The edge of the Roman Empire. So Hadrian's Wall was built by the Romans in the north of England, and shows the boundary, like como la frontera of the Roman Empire. And it separated Roman Britain from different tribes of Scotland, and parts of it is still standing today. There used to be a tree, a very famous tree called Sycamore Gap tree, that there was like in this gap, in this like hueco in the wall, that this beautiful tree was growing for 100 years. And somebody cut it down, I think last year or in 2023, I don't actually know. And it made the news, like it was big news in England and in the UK that someone cut this tree down. Okay, for anyone that really likes to be social and wants to go drinking to experience pub culture, which is a big aspect of going to England, did you know that England has one of the oldest pubs, right, in the UK? So maybe even the world, I don't know. But it says, finally, we can't talk about England without mentioning pubs. And that's very true. It's a very, like, when you come to Spain, people go to the terraza, right? Spain has the terraza life. In England, the weather is not always good because of the rain, and it can be cold and grey. So many people, they go to pubs to socialise inside. And the oldest pub in the UK is called Ye Old Trip. Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem, which is, I didn't say that very clearly, Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem, sorry for speaking too fast, which is in Nottingham. And apparently, guys, this goes all the way back to 1189. I've never been there personally, so I can't tell you like exactly how original it is, but maybe you should go and give yourself the excuse to go to Nottingham and check out this pub that was made in 1189. You can do it as part of your English homework, to go to Nottingham, speak in English and drink English beer. Okay, number 13 is all about tea. Now, I don't know if you know this, but in the UK and specifically in England, people drink more tea than like coffee. Right? So it's a very normal thing. It's part of the culture. You can't go to England and not have tea, right? They actually drink over 100 million cups every single day. I don't know about you, but that is a lot of tea. 100 million cups every single day, because it's quite normal for each person to have many cups of tea. Right? Okay. Number 14, something that some people forget is that in England, we drive, I say we because of South Africa, we drive on the left. So South Africa used to be part of the Commonwealth of England, and we also drive on the left. And so people drive on the left-hand side of the road, which is, it changes the dynamic of the road a little bit. I personally prefer it. I can drive on the right, but I prefer the left. Okay. Number 15 is all about weather. If you are talking to an English person and you don't know what to say, English people love to talk about the weather. It's because in England, everybody is very polite and you can't really talk about like personal things with a stranger. So what is a safe topic to talk about? The weather, right? Like, oh, it's sunny today, or wow, the weather is improving, don't you think? These little things of small talk are vital in English culture and English conversation. So if in doubt, talk about the weather. Okay. Number 16 is about the Tower of London. Now, in the Tower of London, there are ravens. A raven is like a crow, which I cannot remember what it's called in Spanish. Cuervo or cuerva? You can correct me if I'm mistaken. But the Tower of London always has 7 ravens living there. And there is a legend about it. It says that if the ravens ever leave, the kingdom of England will fall. Fall as in, come to invasion, or there will be a problem or something like that, right? So always 7 ravens in the Tower of London. And the final one, I think, is also one of my favorite, little pieces of knowledge about England, is that people love to live on the water. When you go to England, you can see on the rivers, because there's quite a few canals. A canal is like a little mini river. People live on boats, right? And they live on their boat 24/7, like every day. And they go from one canal to another canal, and they don't have a house. They don't have a flat. They just live on the boat. And for me, there's something so magical about it. There's something very whimsical. So yeah, look it up if you don't believe me. I think it's very, very cool. I actually know someone who lives on a boat in England, and she loves it. So let's go through all of them quickly one more time. Number 1, London used to be called Londinium. 2, England is in the center of world time. 3, the Cheese Rolling Festival. Number 4, French was once the official language. Number 5, it has the shortest war in history. Number 6, Big Ben actually isn't the clock. Number 2, there are 2 football teams per city. Number 8, the London Underground, the Tube, is the oldest metro in the world. Number 9, talking about the iconic landmark Stonehenge. 10, Oxford University is one of the oldest in the world. 11, Hadrian's Wall was the edge of the Roman Empire. 12, it has the oldest pub in the UK in Nottingham. 13, all about tea and how much tea the English drink. 14, how people in England drive on the left. 15, when in doubt, talk about weather. 16, the Tower of London has 7 ravens. And 17, people who live on the boats called narrow boats, as, a simple way of life. And that's it, everyone. Don't forget that by listening to this podcast, you get 20% off if you are thinking of doing our courses that you can find on our website, theway.es. Otherwise, I will catch you soon. Bye.
Si disfrutaste de este episodio y quieres llevar tu inglés al siguiente nivel, te invitamos a descubrir nuestros cursos online en theway.es, diseñados para mejorar tu fluidez y confianza en situaciones reales. Hemos ayudado a miles de personas como tú a transformar su aprendizaje. Visita ahora theway.es y realiza nuestro test de nivel interactivo de manera gratuita. Además, si necesitas una certificación oficial, también ofrecemos la opción de realizar el examen de Mid-Third cómodamente desde casa.